like nostalgic.
Movie review.
Nerdy.
Married man.
Well, hello, everybody.
Good day and welcome back to New Nostalgic Movie Reviews. I am David.
And I'm Steven.
And today we are looking at Steven's pick, Cocaine Bear.
Yes. Cocaine Bear came out this year, 2023. It's rated R. It's an hour and 35 minutes. And the synopsis for this movie: it's an oddball group of cops, criminals, tourists, and teens converge on a Georgia forest where a huge black bear goes on a murderous rampage after unintentionally ingesting cocaine. And this was directed by Elizabeth Banks.
And starring, we got Kerry Russell, Alden Ehrenreich, O'Shea Jackson Jr., Ray Liotta, and Isaiah Whitlock Jr.
This movie, wow, there's a lot to say about this movie.
And the first thing that is brought up in every trailer is how it's based off of a true story. And I always hate when movies say that, and mainly because, like, yes, it is based, but a lot of people kind of take it closer to heart, and it's very loosely based. The only truth about it is a bear got into some cocaine once, and police found a body and some cocaine fell out of a plane. And the cocaine bear died after ingesting all of it.
This is kind of like a more of like a what if series kind of movie, where it takes the true story of, okay, so what would actually do you think would happen if like bears acted like humans did on cocaine? And that's the premise of this movie.
And it's quite a movie.
Yep. It is definitely one of those like B-rated. It's comedic for all the comedic intentions. Like, it is not supposed to be taken seriously at all. If you try to take this movie seriously, you're gonna hate this movie. If you go in expecting just a dumb fun time, then you might have a dumb fun time. It kind of just depends on what your definition of fun time is with dumb movies. But I thought this movie was extremely entertaining. I think this movie for me is definitely at least worth a watch. I don't know if it's necessarily worth a buy or anything like that, but I mean, if you have like a good like a group of friends that you do like movie nights with, this would be a fun one to do movie nights with. It's just drink and have a good time. Just don't think about it. Just don't try it.
And don't worry about paying too much attention to the movie, because not much really happens.
Even though there is like 6 subplots in this movie.
You're not going to care about any of the plots. You're not going to care about any of the characters. At least I didn't. I feel like the first half of this movie is like snail's pace slow.
Yeah.
And then the second half, it picks up a little and stuff actually starts happening. But I feel like the movie can't decide on what it wants to do throughout the whole thing.
Wow. Yeah. And
like, I still enjoyed it, but
this movie is also Ray Liotta's last completed film role he completed before he died. He actually died a week after he came to re-record his lines in post-production. He apparently told Elizabeth Banks that he praised the look of the bear once he got a look at it, and he thought it was a fun movie to do. And, you know, at least he had a lot of fun on his last movie.
Yeah, that's absolutely wonderful. And I'd probably agree with him. Like, the bear, I mean, obviously you could tell it's CGI and whatnot, but it looks like not amazing. Like, it's not.
There's certain shots
amazing,
where it looks pretty good, and there's certain shots where it looks pretty bad. Like, there's certain things, and there's an entire few shots in one of the fight scenes where the bear is completely invisible, and you're watching people getting hit around by an invisible bear. It's bad.
It's like they forgot to add the bear. Like, it doesn't look terrible. It doesn't look amazing though.
Yeah.
But I think for like a dark horror comedy, like, it had its funny moments, but I feel like it only had a few of them. Like, I think there were some moments that were meant to be funny, but they just didn't land for me. I don't know if that was different for you, but like the tone just it jumped around a little too much.
There was a lot of like pretty entertaining moments for me. I think that there was a lot of really, really, really dumb like subplot lines, and I'm like, why are we focusing on this sheriff and his dog, and why is he like being creepy with this girl cop and that works for him, and then all of a sudden he's just like, oh, I just want you to take care of my dog, and it's like, oh, he wasn't being a creep. You're trying to subvert our expectations for no reason, it seems like. I don't know. There's just like so many little dumb things in it, but like I think for me one of the standout things was this little boy actor, Christian Canvery, who played Henry in the movie. I don't know what it was for me, but every time this kid spoke, I was laughing. This kid was funny as hell. And he was just like so random. It's like all the different like dialogue things. Like when they first, two kids ditch school one day and they go out into this forest because this little girl wanted to paint this waterfall. And so they sneak out of the house because the mom said they weren't going to do it that day. They go and they find some of the cocaine and they're like, oh shit, I think this is cocaine. And the little girl's like, how do you know it's cocaine? He's like, well, because I do cocaine. And she's like, really? You do cocaine? And these kids are like 12 years old or something around there. 12, 14 years old. And they're like, you do cocaine? Then do some right now. And he takes a spoonful of cocaine and just puts it in his mouth. And I'm like, what is happening? And then the little girl does it too. And yeah, everything after that is just ridiculous and comes out of their mouth like, what are you doing? And fuck this and fuck that. And oh my God. I don't know. It's so dumb and I'm not explaining it well, but it was funny.
Yeah, it was interesting. I think, I don't know, a couple standout things without spoilers. The opening scene for me was really funny. And then at some point there is a scene between the bear and an ambulance, and it was in the trailer.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I'm not going to say anything else until we get to that section. But
that ambulance
those
scene,
two scenes are great.
The ambulance scene is the best scene in the movie by far.
Yeah,
it's not
definitely.
even close.
So, just be prepared for some pacing issues, and I mean not all the humor is like bad or anything. It's just a lot of it didn't land for me, but. And there was still some humorous parts and some really fun, like creative action stuff they did, and I really enjoyed that stuff. But.
Yeah, some of the kills were pretty inventive. Some of them were really unexpected. So there was that kind of like shock and awe kind of factor throughout it. And of like the mainstream actors, I think O'Shea Jackson. I just love every performance he does, even if it's stupid like this one. And man, when he gets his like one random finger shot off and something at that point, that whole standoff with the cop scene is just hilarious, which we'll talk about that more in spoilers too. But
yeah, it was. I do like him, and I mean, a lot of them do pretty well. I think between him and Ray Liotta, those are the most standout roles. And then there was also an actor I didn't mention, Margot Martindale. She's a comedian that she does pretty well. She's the ranger sheriff of the area. But other than that, yeah, I mean, the movie is entertaining at times, and it has like some heart moments, but I think the way I look at it is the poster for the movie is cooler than the movie itself.
It's a pretty awesome poster, actually, though.
Yeah. So,
but I guess you ready to get into spoilers?
Yeah, sure. I guess beforehand, like as far as recommendations for me, I know you said you'd recommend watching it.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can recommend watching it. I don't think I'll ever watch it again. I think it was fun, but I think my recommendation is watch at your own risk. You might enjoy it, you might not, and determine whether or not you want to use that time for that.
It's kind of one of those things where like it's hard to recommend really bad movies sometimes because you know that there are certain people out there that will enjoy it and have the same sense of humor and stuff that you do. And that's why I say, like, if you have a good like group of friends that want to sit down and just make fun of a movie and just know that going into it, and you're just drinking and having a good time and you're just laughing at how stupid it is, you're going to have some sort of enjoyment with this movie. But if you're going into this movie at all thinking about this movie and trying to make sure all the plot points are hitting and the pacing's right and everything else, then you're just gonna hate everything. Like, there's nothing about this movie that really like stands out besides maybe that ambulance scene that is worth watching. Which, if you're curious enough to maybe like get a idea if you like this movie, watch the ambulance scene.
That's the best scene. I don't know. I found myself enjoying some of those scenes, and I got a few chuckles, but a lot of the time I don't want to say bored, but there were just a lot of down moments where I was just like, I just didn't care, you know?
David and I watched this with both of our wives, and I felt like I was the only one in the room who enjoyed it. And it was kind of one of those things where I'm like, I was laughing, but nobody else was. And I was like, oh, okay. This is only my kind of
But yeah, I guess. So yeah, you want to move on to spoilers?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Next week, we are checking out Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
Fuck yeah.
So
Woo!
definitely watch that, and we'll see you next week. That now on to the spoilers.
Yeah, so movie starts out, I think, just with the guy throwing the cocaine off the plane, correct?
Yeah, and he's throwing it off the plane and like screaming all excited, and then he goes to jump off the plane and smacks his head on the roof and falls out and dies,
Which
landing
so
in the
funny.
front yard of someone's house.
I don't know why, but always like watching someone like hit their head unexpectedly, whether it's real life TikTok videos or American Funniest videos or in movies or even like the mess up in Star Wars and stuff like that. Someone hitting their head on something is always hilarious. I don't know why.
So from that, the cocaine fell over this forest, and then we jump to this couple that are engaged, I think, and they're on a hike in the mountains and just having a grand old time, and they come across the bear.
Which I love this scene because they're talking about how lucky they've been on their hikes and stuff in different places and all the different things that they're able to see. Like, oh my God, we're actually seeing a bear. And this bear's like just going crazy doing the bear necessities thing on a tree. And they're like, oh, we're so lucky. And right as they say that stuff, the bear looks over at them and it's like, stuff's about to go down.
Yeah, and then so as they're watching this bear, it notices them and like runs after them.
Yeah.
And they're about to get away, and then it grabs the girlfriend by the legs and like rips her leg off.
And then just like throws it near him.
Yeah, it's like what? It's like out of nowhere, like unnecessary amount of gore. It was so funny.
See, that's one of the things I absolutely loved about it. It's just a really unnecessary amount of gore.
Yeah, like what? It's one of those like shocking humor moments where you just can't help but laugh. So then it cuts away from that and cuts to the mother and daughter that you mentioned earlier, talking that are main characters.
Yes. Yeah, and that's when I was telling you, like, the little girl is talking about wanting to paint the waterfall. The mom can't do it today. She has to work extra. She had tried telling her daughter that or something, but the daughter was like full gung-ho on that. She's like talking about dating another guy or something. Like, you could tell it's like a single mother situation, and she works a lot of weird hours. So then I think it's at this time too that we kind of get a cutaway to Ray Liotta's crew of criminals, and we get O'Shea Jackson talking to Ray Liotta at like a mall food court kind of thing, and they're talking about how all of the drugs that we saw previously in that plane scene were Ray Liotta's character Sid's. He had bought them from a bunch of Colombians, and the Colombians are going to come after him and kill him and all of his family if they don't get all the drugs back. So they have to go to the forest and collect as much of the cocaine as they can to try to save face with these drug dealers. And Ray Liotta's son doesn't want to be a drug dealer anymore, especially since his wife has died, and keeps just leaving his kid with Ray Liotta, which Ray Liotta doesn't care about this kid at all. It's one of those weird subplots. I'm like, well, I don't even know.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said earlier, it kind of goes all over the place. As far as Ray Liotta, like I said earlier, he does really good. And what's sad about that, he's just not in the movie as much.
Yes.
So the times when you get good entertaining acting, it's like it's there for so little. Like a lot of the characters are very surface level characters with few like exceptions. I'd say there's like three people in the movie that stand out, maybe even two.
Yeah.
But after O'Shea Jackson and Ray Liotta meet up, he goes to the bar to get Ray Liotta's son. And like you said, he's crying over losing his wife, and it's really sad. But he also mentions he has this tattoo on his chest, and it's a heart, and it's supposed to have her name in it. But instead, it says John instead of like, was it
Joan.
Jean? Joan?
Yeah.
Something like that. It says John instead. And I found it one really funny, but at the same time, I'm like, I can understand a name being misspelled if you're getting the tattoo done on your back, but it's right on his chest, so he can watch it the whole time. So he didn't like tell the tattoo artist, like, hey, you're spelling it wrong. Or, I mean, a tattoo artist, I think, wouldn't mess up like that.
Well, and I mean, because I mean, tattoo artists do make mistakes, and I've seen some mistakes.
Yeah.
I've had some mistakes even happen on my tattoos and stuff before. But a lot of times, like, there's a whole process to it, and it takes hours to get a tattoo. So, or at least a lot of times an hour. So like a tattoo like that, like they put the stencil on, you read the stencil, they read the stencil, you're like, yep, that looks great, put that on me. So there was some sort of thing there where you both didn't see the mistake, so you can't really blame the tattoo artist at that point.
Exactly. Like, I understand mistakes happen. Like, it's totally, everyone's human, but it kind of pulled me out of it. Like, I laughed at that moment, but at the same time, I'm like, how did it get so messed up?
Yeah, no, it's pretty bad, but it's it was another like one of those comedic moments, and then all of a sudden, like, because they're kind of like whispering to each other, and there's other people in the bar, and then like the news story comes on talking about cocaine being found in this forest or something like that, and one of the guy who's crying was like, "Is that us?" Like really loud, and so other people in the bar hear him, and it's like, how stupid of a criminal are you? You would just be like, see yourself on TV and be like, oh my god, is that us? Hey, oh shit, everybody heard that.
I have seen many of interview of detectives and stuff saying like criminals really are that stupid because they just stuff happens.
That's just so bad. But yeah.
Yeah, from that moment we go and meet the
cops.
Police, I guess the cops, the sheriffs. What's his name? Bob, I think, is the character. He's the main sheriff with the dog, and he's talking on the phone, and he ends up meeting with his partner and dumping the dog on her so he can go investigate this cocaine case.
Mm-hmm. Which that dog is super adorable. I will give it that.
Yeah, super cute.
But yeah,
little,
apparently,
bow in its head.
Apparently Bob really been following Ray Liotta's character Sid and his career and been trying to nail him for a while. And so he's even going out of his jurisdiction to go to this forest to go find him and find some of this cocaine and see if he can crack the case. And so he's even breaking laws and stuff himself at this point. And I'm like, is there any like good redeemable characters in this story? Or are they all like kind of misfits?
Well, he even like goes, is it out of state to go follow this lead? Because I mean, even he has no jurisdiction, but he still goes anyway. But the scene where we meet these cops is just an example of like every time we meet new characters, the movie jumps around a lot to the different plot lines. So it's kind of jumbled. But every time you get introduced to one of these new characters, the movie just all of a sudden comes to a halt and slows down because they want to give you like every detail of this character's backstory. And if not, it still drags on. I feel like the most fun parts of the movie are when stuff is actually happening with the title character. Yeah. Anything that has to do with the bear or in the Rangers forest area is like, that's when the movie has decent parts going on.
So then this is when we see the kids going into the park, and we get that scene where the kids do a little bit of the cocaine and they get chased by the bear. And then the mom finds out that the
kids didn't go to school find a backpack that was just like in her yard that had a map of where they were going and all these other like food and rations and stuff, and they're like, wow, that was really convenient that they just happened to drop a backpack right outside the door. And so the mom then goes to the ranger station and then interrupts the ranger trying to get her swerve on with this nature guide dude. And then we also get these characters, this gang of the double chin gang or whatever it was.
I don't know. They're like these three. They're supposed to be like teenage kids, but it's that whole like CW thing where you get the teenagers that are supposed to be teenagers, but they're really like they look like they're 20 something.
Yeah. They're just like weird kids. Like they could be like meth heads, or they just like the kind of troublemakers that aren't really like that much of a troublemaker. Like they steal like 50-cent lollipops from her store, ranger station all the time and stuff like that. Like they don't actually do anything like big.
It's funny. I'm looking at the cast list, and these three teenage characters' names are hilarious. There's one named Ponytail, one named Vest, and then Kid.
Yep.
With parentheses stashed next to it. So it's like they're so insignificant, but
yeah,
I don't know. Those characters were so annoying for me.
Oh, those three were really, really annoying. And there's like the kid, I think it's Stash is the one that later on works with O'Shea Jackson and all that.
Yeah, he's the one you see the most.
And he has some funny moments with Eddie, but besides that, it's all just like these characters are not needed at all in this. And so, the mom's going to look for the kids and everything. And this is the moment where if you wanted to enjoy as much as you could of the movie, fast forward to this moment, right when the mom and the Rangers go looking for the kids. This is the part of the movie where the movie actually starts becoming Cocaine Bear.
Yeah, you can fast forward to this part, and then you could probably stop. With a half hour left of the movie, you could stop there because the whole ending sequence is stupid. But so that they all leave to go find the kids, and then the teenagers try to jump O'Shea Jackson's character in the bathroom, and it's really funny because all three they end up like stabbing him in the back, but he ends up fighting off all three and kicking the shit out of them. And
which there's a movie mistake in that moment because it shows in the frame right before it shows the knife in his back. It shows him standing over all three of them in that one bathroom stall that he pushed him into and like knocked them all out. And there's no knife in his back there. But then he turns around and all of a sudden there's a knife in his back, but all three of them are still knocked out. And I'm like, that's so terrible. Like the continuity error right there is awful.
But they end up waking up one of them to help them find where they stashed the cocaine, which he says a gazebo. So they end up forcing that main kid to help them go to that gazebo.
Yeah, because they had a block of cocaine on them when he jumped them.
And so then we get back to the kids and the ranger, and they find the boy, Henry. They find that kid, and the girl is still missing. But they find him hiding up in a tree, and he's freaking out. And the bear comes out, and the nature ranger guy jumps up in the tree to get away from it. And it's just the cocaine ends up doing more, or the bear ends up doing more cocaine.
Well, and this is
just goes nuts.
This is one of the stupid things too, because like the nature expert is talking about how he's like, well, they're like up there, and he's like, why are you even in a tree anyways? Bears can climb trees. He's like, then why did you climb up here? And he's like, oh yeah. And then the bear climbs up the tree and dismembers the hell out.
Well, it's funny because the bear starts climbing up the tree for the kid, and then the guy is in the other tree next door, and he starts patting off his vest or whatever, and all the cocaine floats into the air, and the bear kind of sniffs it out, and so it jumps down that tree and then runs up the other tree in like a split second. The fastest tree climbing bear I've ever seen.
Oh yeah.
But like rips his legs off and just shreds them.
Which I gotta say, like we said, the blood and gore in this and just like the craziness of the kills is definitely just entertaining as hell.
Oh, definitely. So the bear ends up I think, running off after that, and
because the mom saves Henry, and they run off, and they start finding the trail of clues that the daughter had left that leads them all the way back to the bear cub den.
That's right, yeah.
And then they run into the guy who survived at the beginning of the movie, and he shows them the rest of the way to get to the den where the bear was at.
Yeah, if you didn't know, that guy survived. Only his girlfriend died.
Yep.
And then does he die? I don't know.
He does die. He dies from the bear outside of the den, and then Ray Liotta and them find his dead body.
That's right. Okay, so while all that's going on, the other crew, the drug crew, get to the gazebo, and the cop has already shown up, and he found the cocaine on the roof of it.
Oh God, okay, so he's trying to get onto this gazebo for a little while in this movie. He's standing up on the table trying to get to the top, and then all of a sudden it cuts away. It cuts to the drug dealers walking up to the gazebo, and then it cuts to the cop being on the gazebo, and they're all just like, how the hell did you get up there? And he's like, from that tree. And there's no way physically possible that this cop climbed that tree and jumped across to that gazebo because of how much he was struggling to even get on top of this picnic table.
Like, well, the tree is so far away from the gazebo too. Like, he points at it and the camera pans, and I'm just it's bonkers. But then he can't get down.
Yeah.
But so this is the scene Steven mentioned earlier about the fingers, and so the cop is holding them up, and O'Shea, I don't know if he drops something or what, but he goes to pick something up. Maybe it's his gun he dropped.
I think he dropped his gun, yeah.
But he goes to, and the cop shoots, and he's like, you shot my fingers off, and he shot off his pointer finger and his ring finger or something like that, or it was middle finger and his pinky
ring finger or something like that.
It was two fingers. And the only reason I remember is I think it's the pointer and the ring finger, because the fingers were not right next to each other. It like skipped a finger. So they made a joke in the movie going like, how did it shoot those two fingers off? Like it skipped a finger. So that was the part I laughed at. And then the bear shows up and they lure it away with cocaine, and the bear lays down and crashes out.
On top of Eddie.
Yeah, on top of the Eddie character. They keep talking about the bear, and they make this joke that it got a chuckle out of me, but the bear lays on him, and they're like, what is he doing? And he's like, the bear, it's a girl. How do you know? Well, its vagina's against my face.
Which, I mean, the way the bear laid on him was like on top of him, like both of their heads in the same position. So like, there's no way with where that bear laid that the vagina would be by his face. Like,
no, there's no way. It was definitely up like by his head was by his neck or something.
Yeah,
or the bear's neck. But I don't know, they had to make that joke. It got one of those chuckle shrugs out of me. Like I didn't die laughing. I just kind of went.
Yeah, which they gender swapped the bear, and I don't know if it was just for this joke, but the real cocaine bear was a male bear. The real story was a male bear. Yeah.
See, I didn't really understand in the movie like why it really mattered. So I'm like, but
probably I guess later. Of the cubs, yeah, because the mom bear protecting the cubs.
Yeah, exactly. So then we get to the den, or I guess Ray Liotta shows up.
Yeah,
shoots the cop on the roof. They get the cocaine.
And then we find out that Officer Reba also was working with Sid, Ray Liotta's character. Right. So the cop that works underneath Bob was also working with the drug dealers and still is watching the dog, but then double crosses the cop with Ray Liotta because she's helping them out. It's this whole twisted.
You're stupid.
Why are you putting this another plot twist into this? Why does this character have to even do, like, we met her once and then all of a sudden she's integral to the plot. Like, I never thought this character was going to come back. I don't know.
It's worthless. But so yeah, they end up leaving and tracking down the mother, and they find the daughter in the cave and the kid, the boy. So the three of them are hanging out in the cave, and the drug people show up with Ray Liotta at the den and like corner them.
Yeah, by a waterfall.
I think by a waterfall out the backside, and Ray Liotta like kicks one of the bears or something.
Yeah, he's messing with the cubs. and he's holding them at gunpoint, and then he's like telling the other two, O'Shea Jackson and Eddie or Alden. He's telling them to like shoot the cubs, and they're like, I don't want to shoot the cub. Like that's messed up, dude. Like it's just a cub. Like why are we wanting to kill a cub? We're just here for the drugs. We're not here to kill people and kill these animals. Mm-hmm. And then this is where O'Shea Jackson really is like, you know what? I really don't know if I want to be this drug dealer anymore. Like Sid is a really terrible guy. Like I kind of get where you're coming from now, Eddie. Like, well, I don't want to do this. And the mom gets the upper hand, and Ray Liotta starts being a dick to the cubs, and then all of a sudden Cocaine Bear shows back up and is like, hey, you're being a dick to my cubs. And the mom and the children are all like, let's jump off this waterfall. We'll be able to survive, no problem.
And it looks like it wasn't that much of a drop.
It really didn't look like there was much of a drop, and it would have probably been fine.
Everyone gets away, a couple of them minor bullet wounds, but except Ray Liotta's, Sid, the bear comes up and rips open his stomach and pulls his intestines out.
Before that, though, there's a moment where Ray Liotta actually like shoots the bear a couple of times, and the bear falls down.
That's right.
Halfway or part of the waterfall, and then Ray Liotta is trying to grab this bag of cocaine that was like on this branch hanging off, and he's like pulling the bag, and some of the cocaine falls and drifts down into the bear's nostril, and you see the bear breathe it in. And then just wakes up out of nowhere.
Kind of like Popeye with spinach, gain that strength.
Exactly. And then he climbs up the waterfall and then spits out the bullet. And I'm like, what the actual fuck is happening? This bear can all of a sudden just now spit out the bullets that was shot into its stomach. And then, slices open Ray Liotta, like you were saying.
I honestly forgot about that part because, like, the ending, I don't remember much of it. Because I was like, this is just...
You were tapped out at that point. Yeah, you were tapped out.
But so like Ray Liotta dies, and the bears feed on him, and the people get away, and at the end, the girl cop leaves and ends up giving the dog to Eddie.
Yes,
and he keeps the dog, I think, and I think that's where the movie ends.
So like the kids all get out. The Cocaine Bear has cubs, and they kind of allude to the cubs being in the second one, all hyped up on cocaine, if there's going to be a second one. And then there's an end credit scene that we didn't stay to watch that I found out later.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Apparently they get to their house or whatever, and Eddie's like, they're looking around for his finger that was, because they had his finger still from that was shot off.
They kept his fingers back in the pocket or whatever.
Yeah, in his pocket. And they realized the dog was eating something, and the dog had ate his finger.
I guess we totally skipped over, so we're going to backtrack a little bit.
Oh, okay.
The best scene in the movie, the ambulance scene. We skipped over that.
We totally did. We totally skipped over that entire ranger station and ambulance.
So, like, after everyone leaves the ranger station, it was after the bear attack, because the ranger girl... she got slashed in her like butt or something.
Yeah.
And she went back to the station to call the cops. And she runs into the other kids that got beaten up.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them gets shot in the face by the ranger. And his head like explodes. And it was really cool. Like the gore was awesome. But the ambulance finally shows up to take care of the wounded people. And the bear had broken in the back room and was chewing on one of the other bodies. But the funniest part is like they get the ranger girl in the ambulance to get her to safety, and they drive off, and the bear busts through the front of this lodge and is running at such a fast speed.
Like insane. 40 miles an hour or something like that.
It's so funny. And they're driving with the back of the ambulance doors open, and even the ranger chick is like, close the doors, you idiot. And but it has some of the best action in that scene, and the bear tears, like the ranger falls off and lands face first and scrapes on the ground.
It's so bad.
And the bear attacks the two ambulance people and like tears them up, and it's just so out of left field. It's so great. It's like if you're gonna watch the movie, it's for that scene only,
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, that entire like ranger station and ambulance scene, there's probably I think there's 6 or 7 deaths within 10 minutes. in that scene.
Yeah.
Like, it's pretty high octane for that. Like, that's why I said, like, if you're interested in anything at all, just watch that. And if that really, really amuses you, watch the rest of it. But if it doesn't, then you're probably good with that.
Yeah. Like Steven mentioned, maybe hang out with friends and watch it, or make it into a drinking game. Either drink every time something ridiculous happens, or drink every time you kind of just
drink every time that you hear the word
waiting
cocaine.
for something to happen. Yeah, there you go. Every time you hear cocaine.
Oh, drink every location change. Drink every time you hear cocaine. And then
drink every time a new character.
Drink every time you see a bag of cocaine.
There you go.
I think
I
if
say
you follow
every time
a new character is introduced.
Yeah, every time a new character is introduced.
That's a good 4 rules. That might be an excellent subject for our podcast. Is like drinking game rules. It's like, if you were going to play a drinking game, what rules would we apply to that?
There we go. Yeah, if any movie's worth of it, it's probably this, because it's not worth watching sober.
I think it wasn't last time, but on the episode of The Autopsy of Jane Doe, I talked about possibly doing some sort of like double feature kind of thing. And so I think it'd be fun to do that again. And so I think I want to call this segment, This Pairs Well With. And so I think this movie pairs well with other movies kind of in the same style. I think if you're wanting this same kind of B-level kind of movie, I think any of the Piranha movies are a good kind of addition to like pair with this movie. Like, if you're going to have a movie night, watch this and like one of the Piranha movies. Or if you want to watch something that's just as chaotic but a lot more fun and still has a lot of the same blood and gore and stuff, I would pair this actually with Renfield.
Really? Okay. See, I was thinking more of like animal disaster movies, the animal hunting down people. So I was thinking like The Meg or something.
Oh, The Meg. Yeah, I thought about The Meg, but I haven't seen The Meg, so I didn't know if I'd pair it well with it, because I didn't know how like different the feel of it is. But I know like with the Piranha movies, it's got that same, especially the newer Piranha movies, like not the James Cameron 1980 Piranha, but if you did like Piranha 3D and Piranha 3DD, like, yeah. I think those would pair really well with this one.
Yeah, those stupid movies where an animal is attacking people and there's unnecessary amounts of gore and ridiculousness. So, yeah, I think, Piranha 3D. I haven't seen the second one. I saw 3D, but
3DD is the second one, just even weirder and even crazier and even way more crude.
Yeah, that sounds about right. But, yeah, I guess, do you have any final thoughts on Cocaine Bear?
Final thoughts for this. It's on Peacock, so I mean, if you have Peacock, like you said, it might be worth just checking out. But besides that, like we said, it's not a great movie by any means. It's not going to win any rewards. It's very much like, and if you like other Elizabeth Banks movies, I think you'll like this, because recently I used to not really like a lot of Elizabeth Banks comedy, but I've really started to get into it a little bit more. Like, I really liked her new version of Charlie's Angels that she did with Kirsten Stewart and a few other people. And there's another movie I watched of hers recently that was actually pretty decent. And I was like, I'm actually starting to really like it. It took a little bit of time. Now I'm really starting to like her kind of style of comedy. So if you do like her other movies, I do think, again, this is that same realm.
She's a hit or miss. I definitely prefer her acting over her directing, but in few instances, I don't know. Like, I think she's definitely talented.
Yes.
But I've only watched like a couple of her directed movies. So, but yeah, so I guess you'd say probably watch this, and I say watch at your own risk.
Yeah.
I don't think it's worth it.
Fair enough. But yeah, I guess that's that one. And we'll see you guys next week for Across the Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
See you guys next time. Bye.